city attorney.
Well,
No, I'm on. They know I'm waiting.
so you know how to do all
Yeah.
the, you got all the fun shit, let it go.
I need some water. Oh, I got water. I need a beer. I don't want to.
You don't have one?
Yeah. Hey, Patricia.
Are you good? Yeah. Oh, okay. Because I didn't have the Zoom link, but I just took it off his text. But they didn't email him. Neither one of us.
I sent you a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in now.
Yeah.
We logged ourselves.
We didn't have the link. They never sent us. It's weird.
I mean, they didn't ask me for your address, but.
But I kind of would like to share what our thoughts are. I'm having trouble pulling up that particular. Let me get off of this real quick. Give me just a minute here. We haven't started yet anyways. I think I can do
Yeah, we
it.
still got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that's a revised one. So
Hi, Bryce.
it is the revised one. You do have the revised one. So. Townhouse, site plan 1. I think that's the original one.
I have this one.
Okay, let me go back over there and look at what you have. Right, that's the latest one. Can you scroll down? Or all the different? Okay, yeah.
I have this 2 images for it.
Yeah, that'll be fine. We can work with that. We also, do y'all have a copy of the showing the floodplain, the survey that was done?
Let me just see just a second.
Might have been on the first sketch, actually.
So the first sketch has this line here as being the limit of the floodplain.
Right, okay, yeah. So we actually have a survey, which is what that was taken off of, but this will be fine for tonight.
Okay.
Hello, Bryce.
How are y'all?
We're good, thank you. You survived the cold.
Defrosted, 100%.
Frosted, yeah.
I'm still cold. I don't know about you. I'm having a hard time warming up after all that.
I understand. Do we know who we're expecting tonight? I see we got John Wright. Hello, John.
Thought I saw the Nystroms come on, but I don't see them any longer.
Yeah, I don't see them anymore either.
We'll give them we got 1 more minute and we'll get started.
Okay. Y'all can, you can talk too, if they can hear you just fine too, when you want to have something to say. Yeah, so we're basically all on the same computer here, so.
Fine.
Able
It works. I can see everybody.
Okay, good. Yeah. Oops. Don't know if
So I've got 5:30 here. Cannot share screen with other.
No, so do we. We're ready when y'all are.
Okay.
I'm
So we've got Bryce B.O.N.D is the council member representative for the district. We've got the Gutierrez's, Abel and Patricia, who are the property owners, and Jay Parker, who's representing them as the developer of the site. Sarah Sejas with the planning department, and myself, Laura Talley, I'm the planning director. I see Mr. Wright is on the line. I believe Mr. Wright is a neighbor, but it looks like that's all we've got right now. COB IT support is just our IT department, and they're videotaping the meeting. So I'd like to get started. Sarah, can you pull up the location map and then the aerial so we can see, so Bryce can see, or so everybody can see where the property's located?
That doesn't help.
So there's your little tiny speck over off of Herff Street. Yeah, Herff Street, and it runs along the creek there.
Creek is right here.
Corner lot 303 Herff Street. And I'm gonna let the property owners, and we had somebody else just join us now. So this is the location of the property on Herff. The property owners are interested in putting a couple of units on one lot. And by our current regulations, that is considered multifamily, not true apartments in this case. These are gonna look and then we'll get into the detail, and I'll let Jay and Gutierrez speak to this. The look will be more like townhome units, but because there's multiple units on one lot, whether they touch or don't touch, doesn't matter, they're considered multifamily. So the zoning for multifamily right now is an R4 zoning. With the new UDC update, it would be considered an R4U. But they'd like to go ahead and move forward with the zoning under current regulations, which is just typically an R4. So we've seen this before where we've had one lot that developed several units on it, and it's just all we have to use right now. We don't have bungalows yet. We don't have we have cottages, but this is not enough for cottage development. It's just several units on one lot. So they're requesting an R4 zoning. Sarah, you want to bring up the site plan, and then I'm going to ask that Jay and Gutierrez explain their project, and then we'll look from feedback from each person, and I will call on everybody. And when you have, once they're done explaining their project, I'll call on everybody to ask questions, and then they can respond back. We're just kind of here as facilitators and to answer any technical questions. So go ahead, Jay.
Okay, thank you very much. So Abel and Patricia and I have a long history together from my days at TEPTO and amongst other things. And we started talking about this a while back and looked at the property. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. And started determined to try to get their goals, which was to have a house for them, a house for their mother, and a rental. And we came up with a triplex building, if you will, which is townhouses. And through multiple sketches and having a survey showing the floodplain, we were able to do a few things. One was to reduce the impervious cover that was currently there. We were also able to push the houses back further than the current house from the street, actually adhering to the 25-foot setback. The way that we positively, if you will, impacted the flood area as well was holding building 2 and 3. And what's not shown on the current site plan study that you see is the amount of structure that's actually over the floodplain. So at the end of the day, we were able to bring that back. You know, we've really played with designs, and we've come up with a really nice layout, very similar to other projects that I'm working on and currently working on, where we were able to adhere to the city rules on the heights and get a really nice unit that's handicap accessible using elevators, and just be a super first-class units. We're incorporating some hill country look to it. I think we've had a couple of comments where people are afraid we're going to make it too modern, and we're not looking for a real straight modern look. In fact, we're open to comments on the look that we currently have.
Want to go to the elevation, Sarah?
Yes, that'd be great. So in this design, y'all have seen me with a similar product. And this design allows for less impervious cover that we currently have. It takes a very small footprint for us to build this with the elevators. So you have your garages on the first floor, and then you go to your second floor where your primary living area is, your third floor, and then the rooftop itself that's an open arbor. That's not a roof or anything, and you wind up with these really cool rooftop terraces, all of which pretty much will be looking down into the creek area.
So Jay, how tall are your buildings?
They're right at the roof deck, I believe, is 32 feet. I don't have the construction drawings with me
I'm just
here.
curious.
I'm pretty sure that's where we are. Plus,
When you talk about less impervious cover, I think people need to understand what he's talking about is they've got existing structures on the site now, and they've totaled up all the impervious cover that's on the site right now. And I think, Jay, what you're saying is these buildings are less impervious cover than the existing house. And I think there was a storage shed and a carport or something else.
Yes, plus your drive and all that over there. So at the end of the plan, when you total it all up, we actually have less impervious cover. Impervious cover is, the areas that are creating the runoff that creates drainage issues and everything else, if people aren't familiar with impervious cover. So we're going to have actually a positive impact, not only on the runoff that's going in the street, but also into the creek and quite frankly, right into the floodplain. We're going to have, there'll be less structure that's currently going over that line than what is there today.
Well, and there will still be requirements for low impact development and filtration of the water off the site. So that doesn't go away with the development.
Right, we understand that, but we also, in our design, that was something that we told Frank, hey, we want to, we want to make it better than it is today at the end of the day. So we can accomplish their goals and hopefully not negatively impact anybody around us.
Great. So Jay, you want me to open it up to questions? Are you ready?
That would be great.
Okay.
And I'll answer them best I can.
Okay. So I see John Wright. I've got John Wright is on the line, and then I've got somebody else, and it's just a phone number. Can you tell me who it's 845-4484? Who is that?
Sure, that's Leslie Brown.
Okay, thank you.
And then
Hi,
I'm
Leslie.
also on. I don't see
Hey
me.
there, Jay.
And who else do we have on the line?
Do you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, my name is Val Anderson.
Great.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Belle.
Hi.
So let me start with Leslie. Leslie, did you have any questions for Jay or the Gutierrez?
I do. Because I just literally received this yesterday. When I checked the mail, we had not had mail service. So
Oh, yeah.
we did not really have much time to review this. So I guess one of my questions would be, what are the dimensions on the width, the height, and the depth?
The top.
And then let me also continue that. And then what is the current width and depth of the lot?
Okay, so can you blow up that screen a little bit right there? Yeah, that one's not. Yeah, you mean the back, the depth.
So let me look at GIS. Maybe that's a little bit better.
Yeah, the depth varies from about 150 to 160. You can see that line going across the creek. Part of it is across the creek even on that back right corner.
We can look at lot dimensions on GIS. Do you know what your building footprints are? While we look up the lot?
You're talking about
For the structures.
The 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're not subdividing into separate lots, but roughly.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just your building dimensions.
We're tentatively, I'm thinking 22 feet and 20 feet for the other 2 units, so you'd be looking at 62 feet. Width.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, that's about right. About 62 feet in total width. What was the depth?
So one of the units is 22, the other's 20, and the other's 20.
Right.
Correct.
And how deep are they? That's width. How deep are they?
The 22 one would be 50, and the others would be either 39 or 40.
Okay. So you're looking at 22 by 50, and then 20 by 40 is just about, Leslie, on the others. Sarah,
Okay, and then what is the height on these, including the arbor?
The roof deck is 32 feet. The arbor would be approximately 8 foot tall.
So 32 feet to the deck.
To the deck, right? And if we need to, we can adjust that a little bit. We can come down a little bit on that probably, but what's the maximum there? I mean, I can get to 30 probably, but.
Yeah, and Leslie, I'm not sure if you heard, they've got parking underneath and then 2 stories above. Is that how they're laid out,
That's
Jay?
correct. That's correct.
Right. Well, we have some existing multifamily townhomes at the other end of Herff Street where parking continues to be an issue. It's kind of a safety issue. And then where the new Crusaders Hall Imagine Homes, that parking continues to be an issue. And all of those have 2-car garages with, yeah, they all have 2-car garages. They all have driveways, and yet people still continue to park on the street.
Well,
Which creates to me a little bit of a safety hazard. But that's nice that you all have, so you have 25-foot driveways?
well, they're actually a little bit bigger than 25 foot because the sidewalk in the area between the road and there, you've got another buffer. So the cars, not only will go in the garage, but also they'll fit in the driveways without even blocking sidewalks or being that close to the road. We're pushing all the structures back. If you look at number 2, it's at the 25-foot setback there, and the other ones are 30-foot back. I believe those were 5-foot additional bumps to give the units a little bit more character from the street. So just a design feature.
Okay, and then how wide is the lot?
It's about 100 feet.
About 100 and a,
Yeah, it's a little over 103.
103 feet.
By 189, 190.
180, 160.
1/4 than the other side, yeah. 150, 160.
I got 165 on the GIS, but it's all iffy.
Yeah, the left side is shorter than the right side.
Right.
Yeah, we've gone, we tried to push it back. We've thought about parking and how that's going to be. And the fact that they're actually going to occupy 2, they'll have 1 unit that they'll be written out. Helps too. But regardless, even if they were all rentals, there should be ample parking to keep those cars up in the driveway and in the garages.
And may I just add something?
Sure.
We don't want parking on the street. So if there's places for people to park in our garages and our driveways, that's where we're going to be parking. And so I understand the concern about on the other end, because I see all those cars down there. To me, that doesn't seem like typical normal amount of people that are living in those units. I don't understand all those vehicles down there. So I agree with Leslie that, I think that's an eyesore down there. And that is something that we don't want. We're not going to have at our, we're going to live in one, my mother's going to live in one, and then we will have one for me.
Right.
Gotcha.
Did you have any other questions, Leslie, before I move on to somebody else?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Leslie.
How about Val? Do you have anything you want to ask, Val?
Not at this time. I just learned about this today, and then I've been at work and I just got home and raced onto the computer. So I'm more gathering information at this time, and appreciate that you've put this together.
Sure. I'm not sure if you heard at the beginning, because there were a couple people that were not on, but an R4 zoning by the zoning ordinance, and you should have in there, you should have the paperwork for what an R4 is. Typically an R4 is for apartments. It's multifamily. But by our regulations, anything more than 2 becomes multifamily. So if you have multiple units on a lot, more than 2, you have what we would consider multifamily. So the appropriate zoning for that is still an R4, even though these aren't your typical apartment types. So that's the reason behind the R4 zoning.
I see. Thank you.
You bet.
Laura, you can feel free to share my contact information if people want to call me. I have no problem with that. So
Another information that it's good pointing out is that based on the location and how close it is to other single family district or properties, they have restrictions on height. They have other restrictions than if they were just in the middle of a bunch of multifamily or commercial development with a multifamily. So it's not like they can't build like an apartment tower on that property. That's not allowed by a regulation. So this is something that it's good to point out to the neighbors as well.
Right, 50 feet is the limit for a typical apartment complex, but because they abut residential, they've got to be so many feet back. It's like 50, 75 feet back before they can get over a certain height. So they'll be limited just based on their proximity to other residential. Well, Bryce, I
have a question. My name's Nancy Nystrom.
Nancy, yes.
So what is, Laura, what is the height limit for the code designation that this is being applied for?
So that's what I was talking about, Nancy. The apartments typically are 50 feet in height, but because they abut residential, there are some specific setbacks required before they can get any real height. So really, I'd have to look at the dimensions of the lot and how far they're set back. But you're looking at, you can't get over 2 stories without being 50 feet back. I'll pull up the ordinance real quick and double check. So they're limited on height based on their proximity to the single family residential. And that's in our regulations.
Pick that up for us, please.
I will.
I believe it was 32 feet. And I believe the roof deck on the current drawing would be right at 32 feet.
Do you know how far you're set back from that side setback?
It's on there. We've got looks like a 5 foot on the right. It's drawn on there. And then you've got a lot more, 25 feet. We took it way off that shot. So we're using 25 feet on Herff and 25 feet on Graham, 5 feet on the right side. And then the building 1, if you will, and building 3 are set back an extra 5 feet from the road.
So supplemental height constrictions are heights for structures located adjacent to residential district within 35 feet cannot exceed 20 feet or 1 story. So that's going to be a limiting factor, Jay.
Right.
Beyond 35 and within 75 feet, you can get up to 2 stories. And then outside of 75 feet, you can step it up from there. So you may have to drop that one in on the end or find a way to push it back.
Which one are you talking about? Unit number 3?
Yes.
Or unit 1?
3.
Okay.
But you've got some separation on it with your street and so forth. Right. It's got one side, unit 3.
This is Leslie Brown again. I had a question on the left side of the development on building 1. Currently, there's a big embankment of concrete that goes from the street to the top of their lot. What happens? Is that included in that 25-foot setback?
I believe what we saw on the survey is that some of that concrete is actually in the road right away, and some of it bleeds over into the lot. So it's kind of both. It starts down below in the street right away, and it works its way up to the property line. It's pretty close to the property line. No different than down below where the concrete riprap was, where it was washing out. That's almost, the bulk of that is actually on this property.
The property line on the left is really outside that embankment, that concrete embankment on the left. It's kind of the fence. The existing fence right now is really a good gauge, I guess, to determine what the actual property line is. So it's inside that concrete.
Yeah, Leslie, that pin is out there with a little orange flag on it in that concrete, so that gives you an idea. Even if you drove by or walked by, you can see that.
Okay.
That would be that point, and then that setback from that point. Is that correct, Terry? 25 feet from that point. So
right. So the 25 feet setbacks we're using are not from the curb, if you
Right.
will. They're from the actual property pin, which is set even further back.
Right.
I have a question,
Okay.
Nystrom. What is the height of building 2, including the parapet at the top?
Currently, the roof decks are 32 feet, parapets are approximately 36 inches, I believe, something like that.
When I went to put up the sign, I took some pictures. I'm trying to pull them up, but it's a little harder than I expected.
You could Google Earth maybe.
It sounds to me like it's too tall. You're talking about a parapet of 3 feet. You're going to have people sitting out on a deck with a.
Well, it's a rooftop terrace right now.
Right, and it's just going to be 3 feet tall. You said 8 feet.
Well, I don't have those drawings here, so I don't know the
So
exact
32 plus 8 is 40.
So if it was 30, let's go to the elevation. Maybe they on this drawing we have it. Can you scroll down? No, they didn't put it there. So the parapet actually acts like a handrail, if you will, on the rooftop terrace. And so overall, it's probably more like to the top of the parapet, not the roof deck. It's going to be more like 35 feet, which I think the current rules allow us to do.
I was gonna say they have to meet fire safety code. I'm not sure what that is.
I believe
I'd try to answer.
Right, I'm pretty sure we.
Excuse me, it's Nancy Nystrom again. What about the arbor? How tall does that make it?
Well, if the arbor is, if the top of the arbor is 8 foot tall, then that's going to be a total to the top of the arbor of 40 feet.
40.
Yeah, that would be to the top of the arbor. And the arbor is an arbor. It's not a roof structure. It's to give a little bit of shade up there.
Laura, excuse me, could 40 feet possibly meet code?
It should. We should still meet fire protection. We're not, again, the roof deck stops at 32 feet. And
So we're going to have to, Nancy, to answer your question, we're going to have to look at some setbacks and so forth and see how far away from the property line they can, so that they can get to the height that they're proposing. I have a feeling the one on the corner will probably have to reduce their height just based on the supplemental height constraints.
Oh gosh, that's old. That's Google Earth.
Yeah, it's Google Earth.
Yes, I have.
But there's the
That's an old-
that's the concrete y'all are talking about.
Yes, that's right.
in almost all that.
So I had a question regarding, this is more development oriented probably, but what's the process in converting a single family lot with one water tap and one sewer outlet to 2 additional water taps and 2 additional sewer inlets?
Good question. And you're not talking to the utility director, so I'm afraid I'm going to answer incorrectly. Oh, there's your pictures. So regardless, they're going to have to make those connections. And I don't know if it's just a service off of the main, which is typically what I see. But because it's one lot, I have a feeling you'll just have 3 separate services off of the main to each of these.
Yeah, in this particular case, Laura, unlike some of the other projects I've done where we're subdividing the lots, I think you're right. It's still going to be, it is one building, one owner, one lot. But I think that each building will have a water meter.
Its own separate service.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. I usually know how to answer questions. I wasn't sure about that one.
Sure, this is an inquiry.
Yeah, well, when we get into the actual planning of it, once we have a definite plan for it, we'll have answers to all of that. I'm just not, I don't want to answer incorrectly. I know they have to have services.
So Laura,
Right.
we had another person come on with the 616 phone number. I don't know if that's a new person that wants to speak.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's Rudy Montez, the next door neighbor.
Yes, sir.
My parents are the owners of that house.
Uh-huh.
And my
So you're the
Go ahead.
neighbor. You're the neighbor to the property, but your parents own the house?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you're the neighbor's son, correct? I'm Jay, by the way.
Yeah, I'm the son. Correct.
All right, I got it. I just wanted, I didn't think everybody was clear on that. So, and y'all's house is to the right of the project, correct? Correct, the stone house?
Okay, thank you. That clarifies it.
Correct. Yeah.
Did you have any questions?
Well, we're just kind of concerned about, I mean, I guess this is all new to me, but just the encroachment of how close it's getting, to
Right.
the property. It's only 5 feet, I think, that they're coming in with the fence line from what I saw.
So according to these plans, this is Leslie, it looks like, Rudy, that there's a 5 foot, there's gonna be 5 feet between, and correct me if I'm wrong, 5 feet between the buildings and the property line? Or on the
I
Montez
think
side?
I think that's what I think so, probably so.
Right now, that's correct.
Jay, can you clarify?
Right now.
Right now, that is correct. It's showing a 5-foot setback from the right side, 25-foot setback on the left side because of the street.
Right. Yeah. And then,
To add to that?
Yeah.
We're still tweaking that, Rudy, and personally myself, and I guess if Patricia and I were talking about it, I think our desire would be probably to move it to closer to 10 feet from, let's say, y'all's side, and then such that the other side, instead of it being 30, it would be, I think, 20 or 22 feet, that kind of deal. So it would be more balanced out, as far as the overall structure.
yeah. I mean, it's just we're used to the openness there, and it's just, well, that's just how things are going. Just everything's getting so built up. And then the other concern was I don't know, the traffic in that corner. I mean, I'm going back to the other side of Herff Street where it's so congested with the units over there, and I'm thinking it's going to get the same way at the other end with the parking.
So that you get caught up on.
Right. So earlier, we had visited a little bit on that. So Abel and Patricia have no desire to have street parking there. And it's their mom, and they're going to live there. Their mom's going to live there, and they're going to have one rental unit that they're going to personally manage. So, I don't think you'll see that being a problem. Also, the way that we're doing the drives and everything, you missed that part too. We're actually going to have less impervious cover than you currently have over there, which actually should be in the next door neighbor should help you.
Yeah, let me say, I think you connected after, as Jay said, we had discussed that.
Yeah, I missed the first part.
Yeah,
I missed the part.
And Abel's preference is we don't want people parking on the street like down at the other end. I think that's an eyesore. I also think that's dangerous on the other end. Cars park on both sides. It obstructs that stop sign. And we don't want that for our home or for my mom's home or for that rental property there. So as Jay was speaking earlier, we're going to have plenty of parking in the garages, but also the parking pad right outside of the garages. So people will not need to park on the street. So I understand your concern about that. And that's not what we're going to have there at our home or my mother's home or that rental property.
In addition to that, if you look at where that #2 building is set back versus where the current building is, that's 25 feet. So that building 1 and 3 is an additional 5 feet. That's additional 5 feet to drive. these cars will be well out of not even close to the road right away if they're parked in their driveway at all, and not inside the garage. So I think they've thought that through pretty diligently.
Okay, yeah, that was the biggest concern. I mean, it is. I'm just doing a comparison from, like I said, what's at the other end, and really don't want that happening at the other, at this current
We
location.
don't either. I thought about reaching out to the city about that on the other end, because I think it's dangerous. And besides, it's an eyesore, which, anyway, we don't want that for our.
And then we're
Yeah,
seeing the same thing happen on O'Grady with the new construction there. And again, those are homeowners, and they all have 2-car garages and driveways and a rear alleyway, and they're not using them.
So this is Nancy, and I would just like to know, how many cars do you and Abel have, Patricia?
We have 2.
And so you're planning to have 1 car in the garage, and every time the other car needs to move?
Sorry, I don't mean to break in, but I do mean to break in. The garages are 2-car tandems. So they're actually 2-car garages.
Oh, they are.
Which
Okay.
Val was on here earlier. She has a tandem garage, I believe. Val, are you still on here?
I'm still here. I don't know if tandem means front and back. Yes, I do. But I have back access to an alley so that the back car can drive, without moving the car in front.
Right.
So and I have another thought, is that I believe now we're talking about Patricia and Abel, but there's absolutely no telling what will happen in the future as far as sales. And if this becomes a strictly rent property with who knows how many people living there. So that's a small item to think about, or an item to think about.
That's where I was, who knows what's going to happen down the road. I mean,
We can control some of that, guys, with as far as on property, they can impose more rules that travel with the property as far as number of cars and things like that. There's nothing to prevent them from making the rules on that property more stringent than the neighbors.
Meaning deed restrictions?
Meeting a deed restriction that they put on their own property.
How many bedrooms do y'all have in your units?
Well, the small one will be 2 bedrooms, and the larger unit will be 3 bedrooms.
So the number 1 is a 3-bedroom.
Is that a 2-bedroom?
No, that's a 2-bed. That's small. Right.
So this is Leslie Brown again. This is unrelated. Well, it is related to this, but it might be food for thought for the city. I was just over in Alamo Heights today, because I work a lot all over the region, and parking on the streets is always an issue in the small city of Alamo Heights, Olmus Park, Terrell Hills. And what they have instituted are no parking signs and no overnight parking on the streets. Is that possible in the downtown area, in the historic areas, to maintain a
I don't know if I want that on my street.
Well, I only heard part of that.
Bryce.
I apologize, but so public streets are for public parking as well. I mean, people in any neighborhood, unless it's signed, unless the streets are too narrow for parking, anybody's allowed to park on the street.
Can I ask a question about who's the neighbor across the street? Who lives across the street from this? So on the west side of Herff.
that would be me.
That's you. So Leslie, I think that's because that looks like where the parking would be, because there's mostly driveways and you don't usually park in front of a driveway. So do people park there now on that side of the street?
No, only if we have people over, which is, maybe once a week, maybe. But during events like Burning Market Days, the parades,
Art Waddle,
Dickens on Main, Art Waddle, and that's all to be expected. But that would be a of concern to us. I mean, I think and Patricia and Abel are in agreement. I think we're all in agreement. We don't want what's happening at the Herff Street townhomes at Tyson and what's happening at Crusaders Hall homes to be happening, to continue to happen.
Yeah.
This, you know, just
on a daily
abundance
basis.
of cars on the street
Right.
on a daily basis, because it's very unsafe.
Right, I agree. I don't understand all the cars over there at those new homes on O'Grady. It's almost like more vehicles than people perhaps are living there, so I'm not quite sure about that. But,
Correct.
you know,
We don't have that many friends.
we
that kind of friends.
we don't, well, especially during
Any
COVID.
friends, really?
Especially during COVID.
I don't know, we've been friends a long time.
Well, I mean,
But I would say this, that even if we had friends over, my preference would be they would park in our driveway instead of on the street. That would be mine and Abel's preference. Leslie knows how we live there, Val and other people in our
Yeah.
we live very quiet.
Yeah, I mean, I can vouch they're very good homeowners, constantly working on their exterior. You know, no issues there. I mean, we know you all do a very nice job with your house.
Thank
I
you.
have a city question.
Yes.
I really don't know the answer, and that's a lot of the answers, but is there a city ordinance that does not allow parking within a certain footage of the corner?
Yes,
Yes.
there is. There's a distance.
What is that distance?
I believe it's 150 feet.
And that's not being.
Then that would be the full length of the property and then
Right.
some.
And that's not
It's
being
not
done. That's
for-
not
150.
on,
I
Maybe
think
wrong.
I think it's 20 feet.
but
Because
that's not
the
being-
duck does that too. And at the end
Well,
of
I'm
our
just saying
street,
that
it's not
there-
demarcated.
Okay. I'm sure you're right. 150 sounds like a lot. So
And 150 is a lot. I think in the San Antonio, certain streets, collection streets and things like that's 100 feet. And there's some different circumstances, but there probably is a circumstance here. Also, the way that 1 and 2, and the way we've got the drive on 2, and the way on 1, it came up. I don't know if it was one of y'all or somebody over here. People typically aren't going to be parking either in front of those driveways. I mean, it's not going to happen. You might find out that during some of these parades and things that there's less street parking than now.
yeah, I don't know that. I think their issue is that the cars will park elsewhere around.
And that
lot.
and that does happen. I can say that from, if y'all ever drive down Turner Street, everybody here has 5 cars apiece. So we have people that park all over our street on both sides. We deal with it all the time, and we have a hair salon across the street. But I do think that in the future it's important, and Nancy brought this up about future use of the property. So we can talk about like now, and I think y'all are great, already great property owners. The concern from other people are about.
Well, Bryce, you muted.
So in the future use of the property. So if y'all ever sell or rent out, controlling that will be important. Like you brought up earlier, Jay, about the deed restrictions and things like that. I think that's important. I do want to say that Leslie, Rudy, Val, Nancy, everybody that's been on this call, this is Laura and the Planning and Zoning Department are doing a great job about engaging the public. And so that's what part of this process is about. And the next steps would be Planning and Zoning and City Council. So just to kind of let y'all know about the process itself, I know that you probably said that in the mailer, but I commend Laura for doing this and putting this together, because I think it's a great thing for the community and for your neighbors too, just to be a part of and be aware.
Well, and I usually close with that, Bryce. So it's fine,
Sorry,
it's fine.
Laura.
No, that's
Steal
good.
your thunder.
It is just, this is the first step in the process. And right now developers come in and they voluntarily do these community engagement meetings. And so they wanted to do this to explain their project to you and to hear your feedback and your concerns so that they can try to address them. So we'll either do one of two things next. Either we can if they want to, they can come back with maybe a little more detailed plan and we can talk again, or we can move forward to P&Z. Y'all will get that notice for the meeting. You'll be invited to that, and you can come to that meeting as well, or Zoom, depending on, you know, if we're COVID free by then or not.
Sorry to
But-
interrupt, but I didn't receive this letter and I was not invited to this meeting. So
Yeah, Nancy, I mean, you're further down the
I'm
street.
the next street over,
Yeah, so I have a feeling you were just outside of the 200-foot radius that we know.
200 feet. Okay.
Right, may I say something?
Sure.
This is Patricia. I reached out to everyone that was on the list that the city gave me, because our neighbors are important to us. And so I physically went and talked to everyone. So everyone would be aware of what's happening and the timeline. And yes, I do appreciate the city and Jay and everyone else reaching out to the community. Our neighbors are important to us. We love it there. We've lived in various places around Bernie, and it's a beautiful, quiet spot, and that's how we want to keep it.
Well, and we really like your house, and we really think it fits in nicely in the neighborhood.
Well, thank you. And I would say, though, about that little house, it's an older home. And while it looks cute on the surface, it sits low to the ground, and it's on pier and beam, and we've rehabbed it twice over the years. And sometimes it's just time for a home to come down and start over. And so we want to be able to build something that we can preserve for our neighborhood and for our home and my mom's home. And perhaps, you know, that other rental can be for an aging parent, you know, someone that lives in our little neighborhood that wants a parent close by. And it will have elevators to where people, one day, if they're not mobile, then they can have mobility in their home, which I think is extremely important for us as we get older as well, but also perhaps for in our neighborhood. And so I want everyone to know that whatever we do there, hopefully it will be to your liking. We want it to be beautiful and peaceful and quiet. I'm sorry. Sorry.
There's some feedback, I think.
And so that is what we're seeking. And as Jay said, we're willing to listen to neighbors, and if we
tweet
and deed restrictions. I don't want us parking on the street at night unless he knows that we don't do that. And we've never had anyone stay overnight at our house parking on the street. And, you know, that's not what we want to happen either. And so we want it to continue being a peaceful little area in our neighborhood and add something that's beautiful to it as well.
And I do believe we're going to see some tweaks to the plan just based on, Nancy brought up a good point about the height constraints.
And we're willing to do that, Laura and Nancy, and I can't see who else, Val and Leslie. We're willing to listen to neighbors, as Jay and Rudy, if you're still there as well. We're willing to adjust some of our plans within the guidelines of what the city is also asking us to do. We're trying to meet all those needs. And then also to be able to build on the amount of land that the city is allowing us to build on. We're having to work within those restrictions, and, you know, having to deal with the flood zone is something that the city is imposing on all of us. And so we're trying to find a happy medium for everyone. And, you know, so we do appreciate everyone's input.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad that I got a chance to get in, and at least I can explain and, you know, feel better about how this is working out. You know, as I mentioned, my concerns, that's, you know, well, I wanted to come on, and then we'll relay the information over to, you know, to my parents.
Very good. Yes. And I was hoping you would join us this evening. I talked to your mother earlier, and I encouraged that.
So this is not your last chance to see it. It will go before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Y'all will be notified of that meeting as well. Everybody within 200 feet, which means, Nancy, you won't be, but we...
It's been already sent out a notification for the March 1st meeting, but it was also already published in the newspaper for the March 1st meeting. Everything was.
So it is March 1st is the P&Z meeting. Okay, I was thinking we were April.
And that's strictly by Zoom, is that correct now? Or
yes, the P&Z meeting is by Zoom. So it'll be the same thing. And then it goes to the council with a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So y'all will see Bryce again. He'll be at that meeting, and that will be, I can tell you, I'll give you all a date because you won't be notified of that one. Let's see, March 1st, they'll receive recommendation. It will be April 13th will be the public hearing before council.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So
And
Monday,
I put my contact information in the chat in case anybody needs to call me. My phone number's there, so you can call me.
great. And we'd be
All right,
glad to share, Jay said we could share his information. We'd be glad to do that as well. Just reach out to us. And we'll
March
send it.
1st at what time is the Zoom meeting?
6 o'clock.
In that whole packet you got, is that Leslie?
It's, yeah,
Yeah.
That is
it's in your
not-
packet
Yeah,
of
but I
information.
literally did not get,
Oh, okay.
I did not get mail until Saturday.
All right.
If you'll check online, it's posted under meetings and agendas as well. And the Zoom information is on that, on our website as well.
And if you can find it by any chance, just send us an email and we'll forward you the link as well.
May I say one more thing, please?
Of course.
As I was saying, as far as building, we're having to go up with our square footage because the city is restricting us on spreading out because of the flood ordinances. Is that correct, Laura and Sarah?
Yes.
Yes. So I think it's important for our neighbors to know that we are having to build within those restrictions, which, whether we like that or not, that's what we're having to abide by.
So they have, for those of you that came on a little bit later, they have impervious cover now, which is ground cover. And they're not exceeding what they previously had in order to build on the site. So they've got the pad that, well, I guess it's a pad where your house is. Where your house is considered impervious cover. And then they've got a parking pad and I think a storage building and so forth. So part of their plan was to come up with something that did not increase that impervious cover so that they could even build on their property, because they do have a portion of it that's in the floodplain. So those are some new regulations that have come into play. They also have to provide low impact development once they develop the site that filters the water, and cleans the water before it hits the creek.
Well said, Laura. Thank you very much. And thank everybody. And like I said, anybody has questions as we develop this and we're moving along. Leslie and I have talked fairly frequently. We haven't done a deal together recently, but we know each other quite well. And I look forward to meeting the rest of you and the neighbors around there as we move forward.
Yeah, this is John Wright. I had just a couple of questions.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, y'all have answered most of the questions that we had about the structure being 3 stories. How high is it? And currently it is zoned R2, which is single family residential, right?
Yes, sir.
Which would be typically a 2-story home and pretty much anything else around there.
Right. I do want to mention this. Under current regulations, they are permitted to build townhomes in an R2.
In an R2.
So townhomes are permitted in an R2. Where they struggle with that is subdividing this lot brings in a whole nother set of regulations with regard to floodplain. So they're trying to be respectful of the impervious cover on the site and build something similar to townhomes, but it's considered multifamily just because it's multiple units on a lot. So I'm splitting hairs here, and I know most people don't know the difference, but essentially these are like townhomes, except they're all on one lot.
And may I also say that it's one owner. We will own it. We have no other investors. It's not considered a commercial property to us. It will be our home and my mother's home, and hopefully a home for someone else that would appreciate living and walking to Main Street right there.
So did you have a question? Sorry.
Yeah, well, my question is then, when it changes to multifamily, that means that it's all owned by one owner, I'm assuming, right?
Right.
But And so some of the concerns that people have, you know, safety is one of those with the parking, and I know you can try to control it as much as you can, but it just doesn't happen in most cases, because we've tried it on our street and it doesn't work very well. But at any rate, really what my question is, like I said, most of them got answered, but what I'm trying to figure out is between R2, what are other options that they have? The multifamily really is a concern for me, plus being 3 levels, plus having a rooftop terrace. I mean, it's kind of like the neighborhood that had the hotel built right next to it, and everybody's looking into their backyard out of their hotel room. So those are the kind of concerns that I have. You know, and we're kind of off to the side, so it's not going to affect our property as much as maybe some of the others back behind them. But at any rate, that's just a concern, and I think something that needs to be talked about and thought about. You know, and the height restrictions that you have within your city ordinance and building codes and those sorts of things, I know y'all will address at some point. And I know this is really just a informational type thing to try to get more information, so that when we do call in on March the 1st, that's really when the decision is going to be made to move forward. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
that'll be the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they make recommendation to council. So council is the ultimate, they make the ultimate decision.
Okay.
Hey, Laura, a question. Under the current R2, if we were going in there and we were building a 2 units and we're going up the same height we're going now, the real difference is we're adding this 3rd unit. Is that
Yes.
for the complication? Yes. So we could actually do what we want to do height-wise, 32 feet and all of that. The only real change is that we're adding the 1 extra unit that substantially changes the view.
So I think what Jay's trying to say is if they came in and built a big house, they would be able to get the height that they're getting with the 3 units. What the restricting factor is, because now it's turning into multifamily, that's going to limit their height, at least on one of the structures. But in an R2, they could have, I think it's 32 feet. I got it up right here. I'll tell
I
you.
think you told me 32 before.
It is, yeah, 32 feet in height is the tallest house they can have there.
This is Leslie again. So I guess one of the neighbors' fears, or one of my fears, is you zone one property, one single family property as multifamily and put a triplex on it. Then what's to happen with the next one and the next one and the next one? Because we do have a lot of properties in the flats, and as we affectionately call where we live, that could be really targeted. And I do know that Abel and Patricia will do a wonderful job with whatever they do, but not the next people. We just can't assume that would happen.
Good point.
Master plan. What's the master plan say for that area?
Let's see. Let me get my map up. I'm sure residential, if it, hold on. Sorry, when I've got the Zoom screen on, there we go.
Sure.
That's,
It's transitional residential. Let me get the.
So transitional residential is somewhat.
It's R2 still, right?
Yes.
Well, it isn't the zoning. Transitional residential can be anything from an R2 up to apartments. Correct. So it's higher density residential.
That's important to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. It sets a precedent, I guess, is what is my point.
Right. Does anybody else have any comments?
I don't believe so. I think I'm
Okay.
satisfied for now with what I've
Did we
heard.
let you finish? Sorry.
Well, I was just wondering, I just found out about this like, a day or two ago, so I'm just trying to catch up with what.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
a feeling we had some issues with the mail, it sounds like, because we mailed these out well over a week ago. But obviously last week was not ideal for the mail service either. So I apologize if some of you are finding out at the last minute.
But the weather didn't help us any.
No, not at all. Not at
It was
all.
sent out on the 11th, so I'm sorry, guys, not our fault.
Yeah. Well,
So much for
you
them
know,
delivering in snow, sleet, and hail,
we're
but not
we're
in
just all
Texas.
glad- we're just all glad it's over.
Yes, me too. Definitely. Okay, well, I would imagine we're going to hear from y'all at the P&Z meeting. We certainly welcome you to call in. It will be a Zoom meeting, so everybody, please feel free to call in. We'll let everybody speak during public hearing, just kind of like we're doing now. It'll be orderly, and we'll call you out and give you a chance to speak, make your comments, and then you can listen to how the P&Z responds. They'll make recommendation to council, and then we'll have another public hearing in front of council as well.
Awesome.
Just one more question, Laura.
Yes,
You know, there were a few, this is John, right? There were a few height restrictions that you thought might need to be addressed. Will those be addressed and sent out prior to the March 1st meeting? Or
Well,
will
that's
that?
Monday, so we probably will not send anything else out. So you will likely see a changed plan. Now, keep in mind that a site plan, and elevation is not a requirement of zoning. However, it's always really, really good information to have in order to get support for your zoning. So I would anticipate that Jay and the Gutierrez's will go back and take a look at this again and address the height before that P&Z meeting. But we won't have time to mail anything else out. We will post everything online by Friday, and that should be part of the packet of information. So if you look online on Friday, you probably will see some new elevations, I think.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. If nothing from anybody else, well, I'll let you go.
We're good. If you'll share my information, if people will send us an email, it's possible that we might be able to do our own Zoom meeting facilitated by us and everybody that want to join as soon as we can get some more information and address those issues. And that way we might be able to save P&Z a little bit of time when we get to there if we can address some of their issues ahead of time. Is that proper and okay?
I am fine with sharing your information, and if y'all want to get together, you certainly may.
Okay.
But I will need everybody's emails to be able to share the information, unless Jay, you just want to give it to them right now.
I have Leslie's. I don't have some of the others, but yeah.
You want to give them your...
Yeah, my email is the letter J, just my initial, at parkerholdings.com. So letter J at parkerholdings.com.
Okay, yeah, I can get you my email.
Perfect.
And if y'all forget that, just feel free to email Sarah or I, and we'll get it to you.
Just wanted to thank Sarah and Laura for, this is a very nice, very pleasant type of way to meet. Thank you.
Good. You're very welcome. Glad to do it. Thank
Yeah.
you, Sarah, for putting it all together. I'm just talking.
Yeah. This is actually, I agree, this is an awesome way to meet people and start sharing our ideas. So this is really good. Thank y'all.
Well, my preference would have been that if we didn't have COVID, we could have all just met out on site, and I think.
I know that will be, it'll
That's
be so
even
much
better.
better when we can be live again.
I think it helps people, and, you know, I would also extend that from myself and Abel, and probably Jay, I don't know. That, you know, we're willing to do that. So people, if you want to meet us out there, we can.
Just wear your masks.
Yeah, we can wear, what happened? What?
What'd you say, Laura?
I just said, just wear your masks.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I said. We can just
Be safe.
pass.
Be safe.
Yes, so we're willing to work with neighbors. If we need to tweak things, we can certainly do that. I want our neighbors to know that.
And I will make one last comment because it's a good point. So the zoning will get approved. It doesn't mean that that site plan is approved because we don't approve site plans with zonings. And that's what I'm saying. By them giving us this information in advance, it's more than what we're actually approving. We're approving the zoning right now. They still have to follow all of our rules, all of our regulations. If there are height constraints, they have to follow that regardless of the elevations that they're showing. So just know that we still have regulations that they have to follow regardless. But, ideally we try to get them as close, they try to get as close as they possibly can to giving you a true picture of what's going to go there. I don't think anybody wants to bait and switch anything. It's just not knowing all the regulations at this point. It's a little early on to have something super detailed.
And
The engineering's not done any of that yet.
I left my email address in the chat, so I'd appreciate receiving any kinds of invitations or any kind of further info from anyone. Thank you. It's been really nice.
Thank you.
I bet I could put Jay's in here. Let's see.
Yeah, you can put mine in the chat. You can put my phone number too. I don't mind.
Parker Holdings at what again?
Yeah, it's J, the letter J, at parkerholdings.com. And my phone number is 210-274-0156.
Okay, so hopefully everybody's got that. To everyone. Save. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you all.
Bye, everybody. Have
Thank
a good
y'all.
evening.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Stay
you.
warm.
Thank you.